Integrity with others at the expense of integrity with yourself is self-abandonment. Because you need to confront yourself with the truth that you've been living in. You put all of your energy on the world that's outside of you. Why? Because if they see you as somebody who keeps your promises, you feel okay with yourself. If you have integrity with people and not with yourself, you are self-abandoning. You are not practicing self-love, you're practicing self-sacrifice. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Words with me, Nejwa Zabian. I've always been a firm believer in the power of words to heal what they didn't break and to break what they had no right in breaking. If you remember, last week's episode was about the 3 reasons why you feel like you just can't let go. And this episode is kind of like a part 2, where we're going to talk about 3 ways to combat those 3 reasons and actually move forward with your life. If you listen to the episode, or if you remember, the 3 reasons why you seem to just not be able to let go are hope that things were different, maybe what they did to you was just that bad, and you're waiting for the person who broke you to come and put your pieces back together. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet and you're like, what does that really mean? Go back and listen to it and then come back to this. I want to begin by saying hope, just like I said last time, hope is a beautiful thing. Don't get rid of your hope, because that's what's going to help you move forward with your life. But the mindset shift we're going to make today is plant hope in a place that's fertile, that will help it grow into something beautiful. Stop planting hope in a place that's already shown you it's going to kill that hope. You wouldn't put a plant in soil that has absolutely no nutrients, that has no access to sunlight, that has no access to water. You know it's going to die. And what you do when you go back in your mind to the things they did and the things they said, and you start making excuses and saying things like, maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they didn't have that bad intention. Maybe they just did it out of recklessness and they weren't thinking, and you know, they won't do it again if I just don't bring it up or if I don't make it into a big deal. What you're doing is you're putting these beautiful parts of you that are so hopeful and positive in a place that you know will kill your spirit. It will show you that that hope of yours is the reason that you end up hurt. But hope isn't the reason you end up hurt. It's where you're placing it. So the first mindset shift for today is stop planting hope in places that have already shown you they will kill your spirit, and start planting hope in places that are fertile for it, in places that are honest with you, in places that are genuine with you, in places and people who mean what they say and who feel like warmth and welcome for you. When you plant hope in a beautiful future where you no longer have somebody who thrives on lies and deceit and manipulation and gaslighting and taking advantage of you, you leave that in the past and you say, I'm planting hope in a future where none of that ugliness exists. I genuinely believe in my heart that I could have those beautiful things. They are available to me. I can access them. Then when you make that shift, your mind stops trying to rewrite the past and say, we can't move on from it. There is a way for that to change. Let's keep making excuses so that we stay bonded to this person. You've seen those really funny and lighthearted TikToks and reels where it's a skit, and it's a POV of your delusional friend who thinks that the person she's with, who's full of red flags, actually loves her. And they'll say things like, oh, he took forever to answer, but that means that he has passion for life. And, they just make up these really weak arguments and excuses, anything that would keep them bonded to that person. And that's what you do when you use hope in the wrong place. When you use hope in a place that's already dead. All you're doing is spilling yourself into a bucket that has holes at the bottom. You're not being contained, you're not being valued, and you're depleted by the end. You have nothing left to give. And I know you know this feeling because you feel depleted and you feel exhausted. But you're in this dilemma. Like, I know that my answer is to let them go and leave them in the past and move forward with my life, but I don't know how to do that. And so I stay bonded to them, and the whole time I'm dwelling on how wrong everything they did was and how wronged I was. Maybe your addiction isn't to them. Maybe it's to the identity that says, I'm always the one that gets hurt. I'm always the one that people leave behind. I'm always the one that people take advantage of. And you're holding on to that identity because you know how to survive it. And you think to yourself, I'd rather be left behind than be the one who leaves. I'd rather be the one who's hurt than be the one who hurts others. I'd rather be the one who's lied to than be the one who lies to people. And that's a beautiful way to be. But don't live that way where someone gives you little signals that they're about to do those things to you. And instead of you putting an end to it, you use that hope and say, no, things will be different. And then you get to the same ending of that story every single time. You're the one who's lied to. You're the one who's left behind. Even though you know you deserve someone who stays, you know with every fiber of your being that you deserve someone who tells you the truth. Like, you know your worth, but you've settled for what the world is willing to give you based on the evidence from every story in your life that has told you this is all you're going to get. You're going to get the scraps of people's love. You're going to get the people who expect you to be so patient and so giving of yourself and so depleting of yourself and so sacrificial of yourself. And when you stick to believing that that's the only ending you'll ever get because that's the only ending that you've ever gotten so far, that's what you're going to get every single time. Because you're taking all the beautiful parts of you and putting them in places that have already showed you that they thrive on your destruction. So ask yourself right now, where are you placing your hope? Where are you placing your positive energy? Where are you placing your belief in people? If you're placing those things in the past in hopes that things will be different, in hopes that if you rewrite the story in your mind in a way that makes that pain less painful or they didn't mean it, then you can still hold on to them. If you're planting it there, you're going to actively make the decision to stop investing in the past. Now that it's come to your awareness, every single time that you find yourself negotiating with the past, that hopefully things would have been different, they could have been different, you say, I don't belong there anymore. That part is over. The more and more time and energy I put towards the past, the more I'm taking away from my present and my future. I'm actively stopping myself from having any amount of hope or energy or time to invest in other beautiful things and people. The second thing that's going to help you move on and let go is to validate for yourself how painful the experience was. Period, full stop. You validate for yourself how bad the experience was. You don't go around asking every single person in your life to see what their opinion is. You know why? Because something that hurt you so badly could be a hypothetical situation in someone else's eyes, and they won't be able to give you a proper assessment. They might tell you, really? That's what you're hurting over? And then what's going to happen is you're going to question yourself even more. Don't do that to yourself. If it hurt as much as it did, then it hurt as much as it did. Period. You don't need the validation of anybody that it was that bad, especially the person who caused it to you. I often mention Dr. Gabor Mate's work, but I genuinely think it could change your life to understand how trauma works. And one of the things, it's like the basic thing about trauma, is that every event could affect a person in a different way. So my trauma doesn't have to be as intense or as bad as yours was, because the way that I experienced the traumatic event didn't affect me as badly as it affected you. Does that mean that you're too sensitive or that you're overly dramatic? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that's how you experienced it. That's how your body reacted to it. Maybe you were in such a bad place when it happened that the wound it inflicted inside of you was just that bad. And it does not help you to gaslight yourself out of your own pain. When someone tries to gaslight you out of your own pain and tells you, it was not that bad, like you're making it sound like it was, you're making it sound like it was this terrible thing and it was not as bad as you're describing it to be. They're gaslighting you out of your own pain. And instead of you standing by yourself and saying, no, you know what? It really, really hurt. And it really affected my self-worth and my self-esteem. And it caused me many sleepless nights. And it caused me to have trust issues. And it caused me to doubt anything that anyone in my life was telling me. It caused me to doubt my worthiness of love. Instead of doing that, when they gaslight you out of your own pain or how bad it was, you end up gaslighting yourself too. You become like a messenger for their gaslighting, like an amplifying force that says, I'm going to do to myself what you're trying to do to me after you did the thing that caused me to hurt so much in the first place. So here is what you're going to say to yourself. I am no longer going to gaslight myself out of my own pain. I am no longer going to gaslight myself out of my own experience. I am no longer going to minimize what happened to me. I am no longer going to walk around feeling like I'm carrying these heavy mountains on my back and like I'm dragging these terrible experiences behind me, but I can do it all and I'm never going to let you see me sweat. I'm never going to admit to myself that I'm exhausted and that I need help. I am no longer doing that to myself. I'm no longer pretending like I am doing better than I actually am. Not in other people's eyes, in my own eyes. I am no longer going to tell myself, oh, it's all mind over matter. And if I convince myself that I'm okay, then I have to be okay. Because what are you doing? You are digging a grave inside of you for pains that you haven't allowed yourself to feel. And the more and more you gaslight yourself out of those pains, and the more and more you minimize those pains, and the more and more you allow everybody else's opinions about what you went through to dictate whether you give yourself permission to feel those pains or not, or to validate that experience or not, the deeper and deeper you're digging that grave, and what that does to you is it's literally killing you. It's killing your soul, it's killing your spirit, and it's physically causing you illnesses. It's actually making you sick. It's making you have a hard time falling asleep. It's making you have a hard time staying asleep. It's making you look in a way that you don't recognize. It's making you show up for your own dreams and goals in a way that has so much less intensity and passion. It's making you just survive. And you know that you want so much more than that. So start saying to yourself out loud any chance that you get, even when you get so emotional, even when you start shaking as you think of how bad that experience was. I need you to muster all the courage that you have within to say out loud to yourself, I will no longer push this pain down. Let it come out. I am going to release myself from the shackles of this story and this experience. I don't want it to hold me hostage anymore. Because the more and more I try to tell myself that it wasn't that bad, the more and more I'm telling that story, you have power over me. And that's why you get to the state where you just can't do it anymore. You go numb, or you start shaking, or you feel like your energy has all of a sudden went to 0, or that it all of a sudden went to 100. Like, you can't predict what your body's gonna do on any given day. Your body will turn into a toddler. It's so unpredictable. You don't know what your mood is gonna be like. You don't know what little tiny thing is going to make you completely lose your control and feel like you have no control over yourself. And it's because there is a part of you that's denied how bad the experience was. So stick to that second strategy that says validate how bad the experience was for yourself. Period. Full stop. You do that. Nobody else does that for you. Does it help to sit with a therapist, a trusted friend, somebody who fully sees you for who you are, and speak that pain out loud and say, be honest with me? Should I be in this much pain? It absolutely helps, but only with the people who are willing to look at you and say, yes, that's very valid. I wasn't with you when you went through that. I didn't come from the same background and story that you came from. Everything that led you up to that moment, that made you feel the pain that intensely in that moment, is personal to you. So yes, of course it's going to hurt that much. And you have the ability to move forward from it. If anybody tells you anything other than that, if they tell you something like, you know, I think you're over-exaggerating it. Like, people go through much worse things and they move on a lot faster. X those people as sources of support in your life. Take them out completely. Those are not your people. They're not giving you tough love. Tough love isn't dismissing your experience. Tough love isn't gaslighting you out of your own pain. Tough love isn't minimizing what you went through. Tough love is still loving. It's understanding. It's compassionate. It's sitting with you in your pain, regardless of how bad that pain is, and not trying to crush it into much smaller than what it actually is, just so that they could comprehend it, or just so that they could comfortably carry it with you. Tough love is sitting with you in your hard moments when you're on the floor in the corner with your hands over your head and you really don't want to talk to anyone or see anyone, and they just sit next to you on the floor and they put their hand on your back and tell you, I'm here and I love you and I care for you and I'm really sorry that you went through that. And I'm here to help you however I can. That's tough love. Not get up right now. You're being absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what's wrong with you. How could you have even let that happen? X those people from your life. They do not deserve that kind of access to you. They don't. The third strategy, tool, mindset shift that's going to help you with letting go is decide that from this moment, you are the one who heals you, regardless of what you went through, regardless of how much energy you've already invested in waiting for every person who hurt you to come back and apologize, validate, acknowledge. You decide from this moment on, there is no more waiting. There is no more giving them chances. There is no more giving them excuses. There is no more living in the victim mentality that says, if I don't see them go through what they put me through, then I can't move on. There is no more any of that. And you can, trust me, you can make that decision right now. You can write it down and say, moving forward, I am my own healer. They hurt me, yes. What can I do to heal the wounds that they caused? And you start writing those things down. Let's say they caused you to develop trust issues because they broke your trust in such a way that you just feel like now you have to look at every person who enters your life and notice every little thing and anticipate that they're going to hurt you too. And look at every single thing that they do as maybe they're lying to me. Maybe that's part of the remnants of the pain that that person caused you. So when you ask yourself, now that you're no longer waiting for them to come back and rebuild that trust, what can I do to rebuild my trust for other people moving forward? Maybe one thing you can do is therapy. Therapy that helps you redefine what it means to trust someone and how soon do you trust someone, and do you, for example, give them 100% trust from the start and then that trust goes down based on what they do? Or do you enter the relationship, the friendship, the acquaintance with zero trust and make them build that trust until you go up to 100? Maybe you talk about those things in therapy. Maybe another thing that you can do is sit with yourself and journal and talk about all the moments when something inside of you told you, I can't really trust that person, but you overrided that and told yourself, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are trustworthy, but they just had a moment that wasn't their best moment. Because when you're able to become aware of that, like going back and you say, I should have trusted myself, then you are, in a way, in a very beautiful way, apologizing to yourself for not trusting yourself. And what do apologies and forgiveness do? They help rebuild trust. So in a beautiful way, you're rebuilding trust for yourself and with yourself. You're saying, I trust myself moving forward that when I have a bad gut feeling, when something tells me this person isn't as honest as they're trying to sound, or something here doesn't sound right, that I trust that I will be able to slow down before I continue to trust them even more. Self-healing isn't as simple as saying, I'm no longer going to allow what they did to me to affect me. Because the truth is, they did something to you that really did affect you. And your body will remember even when your mind doesn't want to. All the times they broke your trust, that registered somewhere inside of you. And if you're not going to go inward and fix and tend to all the parts of you that were neglected when you trusted them more than you trusted yourself, you're going to continue walking into relationships, friendships, any kind of connections in your life, feeling like your sense of who you are is based on how trustworthy they're willing to be. You don't really empower and strengthen yourself to be able to discern when someone's being trustworthy and when they're not being trustworthy. Making the commitment to be your own healer moving forward is active. It's not passive. I am going to. I commit to. I will. Not, they don't affect me anymore. You're not even part of the equation. You said they first. Your self-healing is active. It begins with I and a verb. So start this practice today. What was one thing they broke within you? What was one long-lasting effect that they left with you? And what can you do to heal yourself from that? And start every sentence with I and a verb. And notice the difference that will happen once you speak in that language. Instead of putting them first, their pain first, what they were willing to do first, how they're doing in their life, how could they do what they did? How could they be this way? How could they continue with their lives and continue to hurt people? I will move forward in my life with integrity. I will do what I say I will do for myself first. Like if I tell myself I'm no longer allowing anybody to take advantage of me, then I keep that promise. So your integrity isn't just about what you do and say with people. It's not just about, hey, if I tell you, my partner or my friend, that I will do something, I will meet you tomorrow, I will go with you to do that thing that you're so worried about doing, I will be there for you. It's not just about showing up for them. It's also when you tell yourself, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to spend X number of hours doing things that contribute to my own dreams. Integrity is keeping your word to yourself, keeping the promise that you've made to yourself. I don't think you can have, this is really controversial, but I don't think you can have integrity with people if you don't have integrity with yourself. If you have integrity with people and not with yourself, you are self-abandoning. You are not practicing self-love, you're practicing self-sacrifice. Integrity with others at the expense of integrity with yourself is self-abandonment. It's inauthenticity. And I know that's really hard to hear, but you need to hear it because you need to confront yourself with the truth that you've been living in. And that truth has been that you put all of your energy on the world that's outside of you. Why? Because if they see you as somebody who keeps your promises, you feel okay with yourself. If they see you as somebody who keeps your word, then you can feel like you're okay with yourself because you're a good person in their eyes. Are you a good person in your eyes? Are you a good person in the eyes of every younger version of you that was belittled by others and bullied by others and let down by others and walked away from by others? Are you a good person in the eyes of your future self who has already reached all the places you want to be in and already realized all the dreams that you have for yourself? Are you a good person in their eyes? Or is it just everyone else that's outside of you? When you decide to become your own healer, you start worrying more about your own approval of yourself than the approval of others. You start worrying more about your own approval of yourself and your story and how life has shaped you, and you feel grounded in that instead of trying to ignore it all, instead of trying to fit into a one-size-fits-all, instead of trying to say to yourself, well, all of those people grew in the same kind of environment, so if they turned out okay, I should be okay. Instead of saying all those things, when you decide to be your own healer, you start saying things to yourself like, I am who I am where I am because of everything that led me to this moment. No less, no more. And it doesn't matter that people around me see that or believe that. I know it, and I don't need their approval of it. It's time for words that found me. These words are so beautiful. I think they will change something inside of you. It's not a matter of letting go. You would if you could. Instead of let it go, we should probably say, let it be. These words are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. So beautiful. I used to struggle so much with radical acceptance because it made me feel like I just had to accept that things are as they are and just move forward from them. It kind of made me feel like I was abandoning my pain. It made me feel like I wasn't doing right by myself, but just saying, well, it is what it is. They did what they did and they got away with it, and that's okay. But that's not what radical acceptance is, I've learned. A big part of radical acceptance is acknowledging for yourself that the experience was as terrible as it was, and telling yourself that if things could have been different, that you actually would have wanted them to be different. And I feel like when you make that distinction, instead of saying, I've just decided to accept things as they are, and instead saying, things were as bad as I've been experiencing them, and I wish they weren't that way, but I understand that I have no power to change them. And the more and more time and energy I invest in trying to change the story that already happened, change the ending of it by maybe causing them some kind of suffering, or maybe waiting around for them to change their mind, or waiting around for them to apologize, instead of doing all of that, because it's taking me away from my life. It's wasting my years. It's wasting my youth. I choose to just accept that that is what happened. And that's it. There is no changing it. There is no reversing the ending. There is no one of those moments you get to in a movie where it's 2 minutes before the movie ends and the person who hurt you so much just runs to you, and they've written a poem and they read it to you, and all the world is in a good place and everything just erased in some way. Life doesn't work that way. So when you decide to actively see the story as it happened, no hoping that it was different, no excusing their behavior, no speaking to yourself in a way that says, but I'm a good person, and to be a good person, I have to be willing to see their pain and what caused them to do what they did. Instead of saying all of that, you say to yourself, I'm not willing to put one more moment into changing what happened. I'm moving forward in the opposite direction. That's what letting it be is. And if it's ever going to change, if that person is ever going to come and apologize to you, it's not going to be because you spent so much of your time going over the story and wishing and hoping and pretending like things weren't as bad as they were. It's not going to be because of any of that. It's going to be because of the inner work that they've done. And you deserve people in your life who, when they hurt you, they are introspective enough to know that that was wrong. To know, to come to you and say, I'm really sorry. I know the impact of what I did. And I promise you that will never happen again. And they stick to their word. They don't just break you in that way and just leave you behind. It's time for words from me to you. These words are from my first book, Mind Platter. I love these words so much. I remember exactly where I was when they came to me, what I was wearing, everything. The reality you live in is partially up to you. The fantasy you live in is entirely up to you. I mean, maybe you can't see me, but I'm just snapping my fingers because how many of us live in the fantasy that the story wasn't the way that it was? And how many of us live in the fantasy that this person is just going to turn around and realize all the wrong they've done? And how many of us live in the fantasy of they've done these amazing things for me when really they've done little tiny things for you? You get to choose what fantasy you live in. And I hope that fantasy is, moving forward from this day on, I hope that fantasy says to you, you deserve the kind of love that shows up for you consistently, wholly, fully, and fiercely. I hope that you believe that you deserve the kind of love that is loud and clear and not confusing in any way. I hope the fantasy that you choose to live in moving forward is one that is delusional in a way. Delusional in a way that says, I do deserve all the great things that I've always known I deserved. I do deserve to be in healthy places, in healthy relationships. I do deserve to have people in my life who go out of their way to make me feel special. I hope that's the fantasy that you choose for yourself, because fantasy is your way of dreaming and seeing your world in a much more beautiful way. So why do you live in a fantasy that is diminishing of you, that makes you feel so small, that makes you feel like you don't deserve anything, that makes you feel like the little that you've gotten from people is just so much and you're so grateful? You can be grateful for big, amazing things instead of saying, I don't really deserve that much, right? So choose your fantasy today. Before we come to the end of this episode, I have a request from you. If you haven't pre-ordered The One Who Broke You Can't Heal You, please do, especially if you know that you're going to read the book anyway. Let me explain why it's important, because you might be thinking, well, I'll just wait for it to be out and then I'll order it and read it. Pre-orders tell publishers how many copies they need to print and what the demand is. If you don't pre-order, then you're not really saying, this is a book that I really want to read and that I think other people should read. You're just not showing this is that big of a deal to you. And I know that it's that big of a deal to you. So please take 10 seconds of your time. I will leave the link in the show description. If you could just hit that button, and you can sleep at night knowing that that copy will reach you as soon as it possibly can. It would mean the world to me. If this episode helped you in any way, please consider sharing it with someone. Leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review. It's just you voting for the kind of world that you want to live in. I hope this episode helped you find healing beyond words. And until next time, have a wonderful day.